Unveiling the Sinister. 4 spine-chilling true boardwalk horror stories that will haunt you forever. The sun dipped low over Riverton, cloaking the charming coastal town in an eerie twilight haze. Families laughed, children squealed in delight, but beneath the cheerful facade lay a creeping darkness. There were whispers about the Midnight Witch, a tale too horrific to ignore. The Marsh family, blissfully unaware, arrived at their quaint cottage, ready for a week of sun-soaked joy. But in their eagerness, they couldn't hear the stories that echoed through the fragile walls of their seaside paradise. Tom and Lisa unpacked the car, tossing life jackets, sand buckets, and beach towels aside, as 8-year-old Max and 6-year-old Emma laughed and played in the background. Everything felt right, yet something unsettling clawed at Lisa's stomach. The air was thick, laden with a disquiet that whispered of danger lurking too close. And when the grizzled old man approached, with his bloodshot eyes and unkempt beard, an icy chill pierced the warm air. "Beware the Midnight Witch," he croaked, his voice hoarse with years of smoking and old secrets. "She feasts on families like yours." Tom chuckled dismissively, but Lisa felt a shiver run down her spine. Was this just a drunkard's ramble, or something more sinister? As darkness descended, the boardwalk transformed. Bright lights flickered above and crowds swarmed beneath, their laughter mingling with the sound of crashing waves. But the shadows hung heavier, and the children's giggles seemed to morph into harsh whispers, echoing secrets of sorrow. Tom held Lisa's hand as they walked back to their cottage, but she could feel dread gnawing at her resolve. The wind howled outside like angry spirits, and as the children settled in bed, invisible dread seeped through the cracks around them. That night, the flickering lights outside their window became more than a playful light show. They morphed into silhouettes, shadowy figures flickering and disappearing. Max's sudden gasp of fright pierced the darkness. "Mom, there's someone out there!" Lisa dismissed it as his imagination, but she too felt the weight of unseen eyes watching from the dark. On their third night, while the air felt heavy and electric, Tom, curious about the cottage's history, stumbled upon an old newspaper clipping buried in the creaky floorboards. The headline screamed of families lost, vanished without a trace, each disappearance tied to midnight's cruel grasp. Anxiety crawled into the corners of their hearts, tightening the bonds of fear between them. Trying to alert the locals, Tom and Lisa found only apathy, shaking heads and sidelong glances that suggested there was more to the story. The town had long buried its secrets. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tensions escalated, and cracks began to form in their family as darkness dropped its shroud on Riverton. Muffled giggles and whispers twisted into sinister echoes. Panic gripped them as a feeling of dread permeated the air. And then, the unthinkable happened. Little Emma went missing. Heartbeats raced as they dashed through the boardwalk, shadows dancing mockingly around them. "Emma!" they cried, voices trembling, lost in a chorus of rising fear. Panic crawled up their spines as they realized that they weren't just searching for their daughter. They were racing against the dark forces that had taken her. What they found in a dimly lit alley, where light dared not linger, would unveil a truth more horrifying than the legends themselves. Families drawn in by false joy, only to be haunted by the chilling call of the Midnight Witch. Would they be next? The horrifying question loomed over them as darkness swallowed their innocence, tearing apart the foundation of their once happy vacation. The anxious minutes turned to hours as Tom and Lisa searched every corner of Riverton. their voices echoing into the night, swallowed by the oppressive darkness. Shadows darted behind closed shutters, and the few remaining souls on the boardwalk moved as if trapped in a nightmarish dream, faces twisted in fear. They were no longer a family on vacation. They were a desperate duo ensnared in a hunter's game. Where could she be? Lisa's voice cracked, panic stark in her eyes. Tom's heart raced, an electric fear crackling in his chest, but he forced himself to keep moving. "Check the arcade. Kids always go there," he shouted, though doubt clung to each word, feeling less like a plan and more like a flimsy thread of hope. The arcade was dim and lifeless, the games silent, flickering screens casting ghostly glows. They searched frantically, calling Emma's name, but the place felt foreign, sinister. The mirth once associated with laughter seemed haunting, the once cheerful sounds now a grave reminder of their loss. Just as despair began to crush them, a soft giggle erupted from behind a row of pinball machines. "Emma?" They rushed toward the sound, hearts pounding, hope igniting. As they rounded the corner, their relief turned into horror. There she was, Emma, her small figure illuminated in a stark light, but she was not alone. A shadow loomed above her, a tall figure draped in dark, flowing fabric, face obscured by a hood. The figure gestured toward Emma, who, oblivious to the danger, danced in circles, entranced. "Get away from her!" Tom screamed, pushing past the machines and lunging for his daughter. But the shadowy figure turned, revealing an unnaturally pale face, with eyes dark as a starless night. It smiled, and the smile was full of malice. The moment they made eye contact, a wave of coldness washed over Tom and Lisa, an ancient dread clawing at their cores. "She belongs to me," the figure whispered, voice echoing as if it came from the depths of the abyss. The world around them began to blur. The air thickened as shadows conspired, walls shifting and undulating like living beasts. Emma's giggle twisted into a sinister melody that echoed in the labyrinth of their minds, pulling them further into the darkness. "No!" Lisa shrieked, charging forward, arm outstretched, hands trembling, but just as quickly a force yanked her back, sending her crashing to the ground as if a powerful tempest had swept her away. "Run, Tom!" she yelled, desperation spilling from her lips. He rushed to his daughter's side, confusion and terror battling within him. The figure raised a hand, fingers slick with darkness, and the arcade filled with visions of lost souls, screams, shadows, faces twisted in anguish. Tom felt an ice-cold grip around Emma's wrist. "Let her go!" he bellowed, lunging forward. But the darkness engulfed them. For a fleeting moment he felt the warmth of his daughter, and then she vanished. In the blink of an eye, the arcade returned to its eerie silence, shadows slinking back into their corners, leaving only Tom and Lisa standing immobilized, fear pulling them apart. "What just happened?" Tom whispered, heart racing. The town around them felt alive, pulsating with a sinister energy, and the weight of the midnight witch was palpable. They had stumbled upon a darkness woven deeply into Riverton's fabric, an ancient curse, and now the shadows had claimed one of them. As they staggered back into the night, the air felt heavier with despair, yet a chilling call soon echoed on the breeze. A voice so familiar, so inviting. "Emma." With that haunting whisper, the darkness closed in once more, tightening its grip, promising that their fight for survival had only just begun. What other secrets lay hidden beneath Riverton's surface? And would they be strong enough to uncover them before it was too late? They stumbled out of the arcade, breathless, eyes darting for any sign of life, any glimmer of hope in the dark abyss. The boardwalk stretched out before them, illuminated only by flickering street lamps, their lights buzzing like angry flies. "What do we do now?" Lisa's voice trembled. Desperation bloomed, festering in the pit of her stomach. Tom gripped her arm, the weight of their loss heavy in the air. "We have to find her. We can't let that thing take her, whatever it is." With a determined nod, they pressed forward, the chilling night swallowing their every sound. Each step was a gamble against despair. From somewhere deep within the depths of Riverton, an unsettling low murmur coiled around them like a serpent. Tom's heart raced. The boardwalk was deserted, almost too silent, like a graveyard. The sky muffled the stars and draped shadows over them, inviting fears to creep in and nestle close. A shiver ran down Tom's spine, and Lisa shot him a glance that spoke volumes. Dread, uncertainty, panic. Then they caught sight of something, movement near the pier. It was a fleeting shadow, a blur that danced just out of reach. They rushed toward it, hope flickering between them. "Emma!" Tom called, voice rising above the thick fog of terror. No answer, just more silence, suffocating and all-consuming. As they reached the edge of the pier, waves crashed violently against the wooden posts, their roar akin to a furious beast. "What was that?" Lisa whispered, staring into the abyss of the ocean. The darkness surged against the shore, angry and chaotic. "Stay close!" Tom commanded, fear coursing through him but pushing him onward. He peered over the side of the pier, heart thundering in his chest. The water swirled, writhing as though it were alive, a monstrous pulse beneath the surface. And then he saw her, a speck of white drifting just below the waterline. "Emma!" The name tore from his throat, jagged and broken. He jumped to grab her, but the murky water swallowed up her presence like a hungry ghost. Lisa screamed, clutching Tom's arm. Suddenly a laugh cut through the air, chilling them to the bone. It was Emma's laugh, innocent yet twisted. "She's here!" Tom shouted, desperate, eyes darting to find that spectral figure. But the shadows around them stirred, and a deeper darkness blinked into existence, coiling around the edges of their vision. The darkness flickered to life, revealing fleeting images, lost souls stretching out their hands, mouths agape in silent screams. The sight sent Tom reeling. "This can't be real," he stammered, backing away. Then, as if in response to his disbelief, the figure re-emerged just beyond the edge of the pier. It stood nestled among the shadows, its exaggerated smile a reflection of their darkest fears. "She will be mine forever," it crooned, voice melodic yet sinister, echoing like a funeral dirge in the cold air. "No!" Lisa shouted defiantly, stepping forward, though terror clawed at her throat. "You can't have her!" Tom felt a surge of adrenaline. "We have to get her back!" Before he could leap toward the water, the shadowy being stretched an arm towards them, and time snapped like a frayed wire. Suddenly, a choking silence enveloped them, air thick with dread. The figure's chilling laughter swirled, spiraling around them like a noose tightening. Shadows pulled at their feet, urging them back, urging them to give in. "Run!" Tom yelled just as the world around them cracked and twisted, folding in on itself. But retreat wasn't enough. The darkness wasn't just chasing, it was weaving a trap around their very souls. As they stumbled backward, terror driving their escape, a voice echoed in their minds, warm and familiar, yet twisted beyond recognition. "Daddy, Mummy, help me." And with that haunting plea, a path opened up before them, a path shrouded in fog but teeming with an inexplicable dread. "Where does it lead?" Lisa gasped. Tom's face hardened with determination. "We're going to find out. We have to." As they steeled themselves for whatever lay ahead, the chilling laughter blended with that desperate call, setting the tone for the nightmarish journey to come. And in that murky twilight, they realized the true horror. Shadows weren't all that haunted this town. What awaited them at the end of that treacherous path? And would they be ready for the truth that would shatter their very souls? They stepped onto the path, fog swirling around their ankles like a living creature. The air bristled with unease, thick with the scent of salt and something far worse, decay. Tom moved first, steering Lisa forward, a protective instinct coursing through him. Every fibre of his being shouted to turn back, to flee into the comforting arms of the arcade. But Emma's voice echoed in his mind, pulling him deeper into the dark. "This has to be the right way," he muttered, though his doubt gnawed at him. The fog thickened, obscuring the surroundings until the boardwalk disappeared. The world around them held their breath, every sound dampened, every sense heightened. A light flickered in the distance, a solitary glimmer drawing them in, promising answers. They trudged ahead, the beam pulsing like a heartbeat. "It feels wrong." Lisa's voice quivered, nearly swept away by the oppressive silence. "Just a little further," Tom encouraged, but his own words fell flat, echoing with uncertainty. "Emma!" he called again, his voice swallowed whole by the heaviness that hung in the air. The flickering light grew stronger, revealing the edges of a dilapidated shack, old and rotting, the wood sunken with age. With every step closer, a sense of foreboding wrapped around them like a vice. The air turned icy, causing them to shiver. "Maybe she's in there," Tom said, forcing a calm he didn't feel. "No, we can't go in there," Lisa protested, eyes wide with genuine fear. "What if it's a trap?" But before he could respond, the door creaked open with a bone-chilling groan, inviting them inside. The light flickered again, revealing a figure silhouetted within. As they hesitated, the figure stepped forward, and the glow illuminated a face they did not expect. It was Emma, but something was off. Her eyes glimmered with an unnatural light, an unsettling contrast to the innocence they remembered. The smile across her face stretched too wide, a sign of something twisted lurking beneath. "Daddy, Mummy, I've missed you," she sang. The words dripped with eerie cheerfulness, but the pitch was wrong, broken. Tom stepped forward, heart racing. "Emma, are you okay?" "Of course. Come inside. I found something," she said, her voice soft and inviting, yet each word dripped with something sinister. The shadows flickered in rhythm with her movements. Other shapes danced behind her, almost imperceptible, whispering in soft tones that made Tom's skin crawl. "Stay back," Lisa yelled, pulling Tom's arm. "This isn't right." Emma's expression changed, the warmth replaced with that strange, dark hunger. "I just want to play. Forever." The shadows swayed at her command, twisting and writhing, reaching for them like branches clawing at the sky. Tom's instinct screamed for them to run, but a deep sense of dread anchored him in place. Just then, the shack groaned, the walls trembling as if they were alive. A pulsing energy surrounded them, the light distorting into grotesque shapes. "Help me!" Emma's voice echoed again, but this time it was layered with anguished cries, merging with the lament of those trapped within the shadows. Tom felt a suffocating grip around his heart. This wasn't just a rescue mission. They had walked into a snare. "Turn back!" Lisa shouted. "We have to get out of here!" But a force pulled at them, and the shadows began to twirl, swirling like a frenetic storm. Tom's breath quickened as he realized they were out of time. "Run!" he screamed, just as the shack twisted in on itself, no sanctuary to be had. They sprinted back into the fog, hearts pounding, but the echoes of Emma's cry chased them through the night. The chilling thought flooded Tom's mind. What if the truth they were after was worse than the darkness itself? What if Emma was never truly lost? As they fled, a rumble shook the ground, and visions flared at the corners of their minds, shadows shifting, faces pleading, and laughter that did not belong. What had they awakened? And even more chilling, what would come for them next? Panic surged as Tom and Lisa dashed, the thick fog closing in, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. The echoes of Emma's twisted laughter resonated, bouncing off the unseen walls that loomed in the darkness. It was as if the night conspired against them, urging them to revisit the terror they had just fled. "Where do we go?" Lisa gasped, glancing over her shoulder, her breath visible in the biting air. "Anywhere but here," Tom shouted, adrenaline propelling them forward. But the ground beneath them felt wrong, shifting and altering, as though the earth itself was part of the trap. The further they ran, the less it resembled the familiar boardwalk. The vibrant colours and lively sounds of the arcade faded into a distant memory, swallowed by the fog. There was only the hollow silence and the weight of dread. A distant scream broke the eerie calm, a chilling reminder of their pursuit. Was it Emma, or someone else caught in the same nightmare? His heart raced as he pushed the horror from his mind. "Tom!" Lisa gasped, pointing ahead. A shadow moved, cloaked by the fog, darting among the trees that jutted out from the side of the path, deformed and twisted like the souls trapped within. They froze for a moment, watching as it swayed and then darted again, faster this time, vanishing before their eyes. "Keep moving!" Tom urged, a primal fear pushing him forward. They regained their speed, weaving through the thinning fog, desperate for clarity. Then, without warning, a blaring sound erupted from the darkness, an old carnival horn, disjointed and jarring. It echoed, mocking them, a reminder of innocence lost. "Tom!" Lisa cried out, halting in her tracks. "What if it's a lure?" His instincts screamed for caution, yet they had no choice. They couldn't outrun whatever was hunting them. "Trust me, we have to see," he insisted, grabbing her arm. As they moved closer to the source of the noise, a flicker of light broke through the dreary haze. They stumbled onto a clearing, panic gripping them as they beheld an abandoned carnival. Stalls stood scattered, their colours faded and peeling, the remnants of joy swallowed by decay. The Ferris wheel loomed in the distance, towering and ominous, an iron giant watching over their plight. "Why is this here?" Lisa whispered, her voice trembling. "The boardwalk," Tom murmured, realizing the connection. "It's all part of whatever's happening." The carnival took on a life of its own, whispering secrets that hung heavy in the air. Something shifted behind one of the stalls. They turned, their breath catching at the sight of a figure, thin and hunched. It stepped forward, patches of its skin glowing in the dim light, barely human, yet human all the same. "I've waited for you," it wheezed, voice slithering through the air like smoke, joy twisted into something dark and malicious. "The games have only just begun." Before Tom could react, the ground beneath them shuddered, the fog swirling again, pulling at their feet. The laughter grew louder, echoing from the depths of the darkened carnival. "Run!" he yelled, but as they turned to escape, the air thickened and shadowy tendrils snaked around their ankles, holding them in place. "Tom, what do we do?" Lisa's voice was a strained whisper, her eyes wide with terror. His mind raced. They were trapped in a web of nightmares, and if they didn't break free, they would become part of the carnival. A never-ending game in a place of lost souls. "Break the grip, use the light," he shouted, remembering the flickering glimmer from before. He launched himself forward, dragging Lisa with him, past the figures' bleeding laughter, past the distorted games that beckoned them. The light pulsed faintly, calling them to focus. It flickered again, illuminating shadows around them. What secrets lay hidden in the heart of the carnival? Would they ever find a way out, or would they succumb to the darkness lurking around every corner? As Tom strained against the shadows, he caught sight of a face among the darkness, familiar, yet forever altered. It was Emma, smiling that same broken smile, but this time her eyes shimmered with hungry void. What lay beneath her gaze? And would they escape before it was too late? As the shadows tightened their grip, Tom's heart pounded in his chest, a frantic drum echoing the peril surrounding them. He could feel the pulsating darkness around his ankles, tightening like a vice. "Tom!" Lisa screamed, her voice tearing through the din of laughter that flowed from the stalls, a cruel melody that slithered under their skin. Tom looked back at her, eyes wide with urgency and fear. "Just hold on!" he gasped, pulling against the tendrils that seemed almost alive. The very air crackled with malevolence, a sentient fog that choked their resolve. He pushed past the first stall, a broken sign creaking in protest overhead. "Fortune teller," it read, its letters peeling like the paint flaking from the carnival's facade, revealing the dark wood underneath. It felt foreboding, like lost secrets waiting to escape. They burst through, slipping into a dark space. Inside, the tent was a maze of old, dusty props, crystal balls, tattered tarot cards, and mirrors that distorted reflections captured their frantic movements. Thick shadows huddled in the corners, whispering sinister secrets just out of reach. But one thing marked the center, a pedestal with a glowing orb that pulsed softly. "Tom, look!" Lisa pointed, the orb casting an ethereal light, illuminating their surroundings. "Maybe we can use it to break free," he exclaimed, hope igniting within him. As they rushed towards it, the laughter grew louder. It was almost mocking, a cacophony of unseen spectres reveling in their plight. Each step felt heavier, the ground beneath them seeming to tremble with anticipation. But then, from the shadows, figures began to emerge. Spectres of former patrons, twisted and smiling in ways that made their stomachs churn. The one in front stepped forward, a grotesque smile splitting its face, eyes dark and empty. "Stay and play," it rasped, extending an arm towards them. With every inch it moved, the temperature dropped, a chill wrapping around Tom and Lisa like chains. "No!" Tom shouted, grabbing Lisa's hand, trying to pull her back, but the tendrils around them lashed violently as if enraged. The figures closed in, their laughter morphing into a war cry, and the carnival pulsated as if it were alive, reacting to their despair. "Tom!" Lisa cried, pulling him closer. "What do we do?" "Focus on the light," he yelled, desperate. They turned back to the glowing orb, each pulse rhythmically inviting like a heartbeat. Tom could feel it calling to him, resonating with a strange energy. "Get ready!" he shouted, and they lunged for the orb, hands outstretched. Contact. The moment they touched it, a shockwave blasted through them, lighting up the carnival, as if a beacon of hope had shattered the choking darkness. Colors exploded around them, and for an instant the laughter ceased. They stumbled back, but the light began drawing the shadows in like a vacuum. The figures shrieked, their smiles twisting as they were swallowed by the light. Yet, from the depths of the fading shadows, came Emma's voice. "You can't escape," it echoed, taunting. "You're part of my games now." In one final gasp, the carnival trembled violently. The earth shifted, tearing itself apart, the carnival beginning to collapse into the void. Desperate, they grasped the orb tightly, forcing every ounce of their will into the pulsing light. A blinding flare enveloped everything. Tom felt Lisa's hand slip away. "No, Lisa!" he yelled, the brightness searing his eyes as he was thrown backward. The light burst forth, dispersing the last remnants of darkness around him. Tom was left gasping in a clearing, alone. The carnival vanished. Just him and the echo of Emma's laughter haunting the night air. "Lisa!" His voice cut through the silence, trembling with dread as he stumbled back to where he thought he had seen her last. The night was still, yet somewhere in the distance, laughter bubbled up softly, alive and sinister. Where was she? Was she lost in that nightmare? And who would claim the next victim to the game's cruel whims? As dread washed over him anew, Tom realized he wasn't safe at all. Something was out there, lurking, waiting for the moment he would drop his guard. Would he find Lisa before it was too late? Or would he too be ensnared in Emma's eternal game? Tom's breath came in ragged bursts, each one echoing the deepening void around him. The swirling darkness felt like fingers wrapping around his throat, squeezing tighter with every passing second. He forced himself to focus, to think. Think, Tom, think. Where would she go? Shadows shifted on the periphery of his vision, flickering like whispers made flesh. He turned suddenly, his heart racing. "Lisa!" His voice trembled, desperation clawing at him, yet the only response was more laughter, echoing against the trees, a twisted lullaby that pulled at his sanity. Clenching his fists, he took a step forward, then another, moving toward the sound. knowing it was a lure, but unable to fight the instinct. Each step brought the memories of the carnival flooding back, bright colors, voices and laughter now marred by dread. Where the fun had once resided, there was only a smothering absence and the potential madness of uncertainty. "Please," he murmured, but the night swallowed his plea whole, leaving him alone with the shadows that danced between reality and nightmare. Panic set in, an icy claw gripping his chest. What had just happened? The orb, the shadows, and Lisa. He needed to find her. "I have to keep moving," he muttered, each word a breath of determination. He trekked through the clearing until he spotted a flicker of movement near the edge of the trees. He held his breath, muscles tense, waiting. As he neared, the figure solidified into a grotesque caricature of glee. It was the spectre from the carnival, its grin a grotesque mockery of joy. "Looking for someone," it crooned, its voice slithering through the air like a serpent. "Get away from me!" Tom yelled, recoiling from the creature's outstretched hand, instinct forcing him back. But it glided forward, inching closer, blissfully unbothered by emotion or reason. A low chuckle mixed with the rustle of leaves as shadows melded together and erupted into a flurry of eerie laughter that surrounded him. The chorus blended into something malevolent, a ritualistic chant binding his will, seeping through the cracks of his courage. He had no choice but to move, to escape their gaping mouths that promised eternal play. Tom glanced around, heart racing. He needed to lock onto the path away from this madness. He spotted a faint glow further down the tree line. Was it the orb? A glimmer of hope in this darkness. He sprinted towards it, pushing past the shrieks that swallowed his resolve. As he charged forward, every footfall felt like a weightless dream, the kind that snags you just before waking. The closer he got, the stronger the light became, seeping into him like warmth on a bitter winter night. Then he stopped. Just ahead, a figure flickered in the glow. Was it Lisa? Tom! Her voice was like lifeblood, anchoring him. He moved faster, but as he extended his hand, the light flickered violently, distorting her image until it cracked and crumbled like brittle paper. No! Panic surged through him. Suddenly, Lisa's face morphed into Emma's wicked grin, laughter rolling from the shadows, a cacophony of deceit. "You think you can save her?" Emma's voice echoed through the darkness, smooth and cruel. "You're merely another pawn now, sweet boy." Tom's throat tightened, choking on terror. He turned and dashed back, heart thundering as he broke through the shadows, searching, seeking. But with every step, the shadows laughed louder, mocking his desperation. He spun around, faced with a wall of darkness. "I won't play," he shouted, defiantly clutching the memory of the orb, a blip of hope in the suffocating despair. As the air thickened, swirls of dread encircled him, binding him. A momentary silence enveloped the night, a stillness before a storm. He felt eyes on him, piercing, demanding, awakening instincts buried deep within. If he couldn't find Lisa, he'd have to confront the game head-on. The shadows quivered in response, eager for the hunt to resume. Tom made his choice. He clenched his fists, calling upon the remnants of courage. What would he sacrifice to wrestle her back from the clutches of the game? But as he stepped forward, ready to confront the lurking terror, a whisper slithered beneath the laugh. "You might just become one of them." The laughter erupted again, louder, more grotesque, wrapping tightly around him as the night turned electric. Was it the sparking moment of fear fueling him, or the dawning realization that he was running out of time? Tom's heart thundered in his chest as darkness clung to him like a living shroud, wrapping tighter with each flinch of his senses. The laughter had settled, but the silence was just as oppressive, as if the night itself held its breath. He pivoted again, scanning the abyss for a sign of movement, a flicker of light. But all he found were shadows flitting at the corners of his sight, taunting him. "Focus!" he told himself through gritted teeth. He remembered the orb's glow, the warmth it promised. If there was a way out, it had to be through that light. But as he pushed deeper into the thicket, dread clawed at his insides. Suddenly a low whisper filled the space around him, so soft it was almost indistinguishable from the wind. "Tom, Tom." The voice coiled around him like a snake ready to strangle. It was a voice he recognized, yet it felt twisted, a mockery of the one he loved. "Where are you?" "Lisa," he called back, his voice echoing among the trees, desperate and jagged. The reply was another peal of laughter, distant yet intimate, wrapping around him like fingers. Tom broke into a run, desperation overtaking him. Each footfall propelled his fear forward, igniting the urgency that screamed within him. But the shadows do not retreat, rather they nipped at his heels, eager to drag him into their suffocating embrace. As he stumbled, the ground beneath him transformed, the once familiar earth shifting into an undulating surface. A thick fog billowed around him, obscuring vision and enmeshing him further in the darkness. The moonlight struggled to penetrate, casting his surroundings into unsettling shapes. What used to be trees now seemed like twisted, contorting figures, warping with every blink. "Stay calm! Stay calm!" he whispered to himself, but his breath betrayed him, coming out in terrified gasps. Up ahead, a flicker of orange caught his eye. Was it hope or another trap? Moving toward it felt like moving toward a sun that refused to rise. His legs faltered under the weight of dread, but he pressed onward. Closer now, the glow painted everything in hues of honey and flames, distorting the grotesque shapes around him into something almost serene. But serenity and horror often walk hand in hand, and he knew this game had no mercy. As he approached, the warmth washed over him, a momentary balm against his anxious skin. But then he halted. What he thought was Lisa stepped out of the light, her form solidifying, her expression shifting. "Tom?" she asked softly, yet her voice fractured like glass. "Lisa!" He reached for her, but as she came into the light, the illusion shattered. It was her, yet the laughter remained. The shadows behind her morphed into other faces, distorted, pleading, damning. They reached out, their fingertips brushing against the edges of reality. "Join us, Tommy!" Lisa's voice slurred, her eyes glinting with a crazed light. "Play with us forever." "No!" he screamed, stepping back, but it was already too late. The shadows surged like a tide, sweeping him up in a cacophony of laughter that echoed off every tree, every blade of grass. In that moment, the shadows curled tighter. Tom could feel the darkness seep beneath his skin, numbing his limbs and smothering his mind. "I won't—" The world spun as the shadows pulled him deeper into their realm, where whispers turned to screams and laughter morphed into torturous wails. And just as despair threatened to consume him, something sharp punctured the haze. A memory of the orb, flickering like a dying flame. With the last vestige of strength, he fought against the darkness, struggling to break free. But the shadows dug deeper, promising eternity under their twisted rule. Then he realized the game wasn't just about finding Lisa. It was about embracing the madness or being consumed by it. In that fleeting clarity, the darkness burst forth with a new intensity. The laughter crescendoed, wrapping around him, binding him like a moth caught in a web. "Tom!" A voice crackled through the chaos. Was it Lisa again or something else? "You have to choose." As he faced the shadowy abyss, uncertainty gripped him tighter than ever. What choice was left, and what happens when the game reveals its final secret? The shadows beckoned, and he felt himself teeter on the edge of surrender. Would he plunge into the void or find a way to break free? Time raced against him. The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. The night waited, eager to devour what was left of his humanity. Tom's grasp on reality strained as the shadows whispered promises of surrender. He hesitated, choking on the darkness that curled around him like a foul smoke. The echoes of tormenting laughter lingered, as if the night conspired to drag him deeper into its clutches. "Choose!" The voice, a jarring mix of familiarity and malevolence, rang out again, shattering his thoughts. The choice lay ahead. But what choice? To join the madness or embrace the fading light? He felt the weight of invisible hands pushing him down, each tug pulling him toward an unseen pit. He squeezed his eyes shut, straining to remember Lisa's face, their shared laughter, the warmth of her presence. Yet each time he conjured her image, it morphed, twisted by the darkness, until it became nothing more than a taunting spectre. But what if it was true? What if surrender meant escape? His pulse raced, the conundrum wedging itself firmly in his chest. The shadows circled, playful and insidious, hungry for his decision. "Tom!" The voice again piercing through the haze, stronger this time. "Find the light!" Heart pounding, he jerked his eyes open. There, far off in the shifting dark, a flicker glimmering like a beacon amidst a storm, the orb. With every ounce of determination, he fought against the weight, propelling himself forward. But as he strained to reach it, tendrils of shadow slithered around his legs, pulling him downward, slowing his progress. Panic surged through him. They were relentless, shrieking curses, hollowed echoes that threatened to drown him. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice swallowed by the void. Each word fought to break free from his throat, like a soldier retreating in despair. "No more games," he gasped, pulling against the darkness, feeling every sinew scream in protest. He knew their intentions, the creeping fingers wanting to rewrite his fate. Just as he felt himself slipping, a sliver of light emerged, vibrant and demanding. It promised warmth, his lifeline in this sinister labyrinth. "Tom!" The voice again, this time a chaotic blend of joy and despair. It vibrated through the very air around him, electrifying his limbs. He choked back his fear, reaching, clawing toward the warmth. Each inch was a struggle, a battle of wills between his humanity and the grotesque mirage of darkness. With an urgent roar, he surged forward, breaking free from the ground's grasp, hands stretched out. He could feel the shadows rippling behind him, howling in anger as they lost their grip. His fingers grazed the warm, pulsing orb, igniting a flood of energy surging through him, casting the shadows away. They recoiled, screeching like banshees, drawn back into the blackness as the light expanded around him. Breathless and shivering, Tom felt himself reconnecting with the moment, alive and still whole. But the reprieve was fleeting. A thump reverberated behind him, heavy and ominous, decipherable only in the chilling silence. Instinctively he turned. The shadows writhed, twisting violently as they regrouped, dark tendrils intertwining, forming the shape of a twisted face. It was a parody of Lisa, a phantasmagorical reflection of his fear. "Don't think this is over, Tommy," it whispered, a wicked smile curling across its shadowy lips. The laughter crescendoed again, a haunting melody echoing in the recesses of his mind. Tom's heart dropped. He had escaped, but for how long? The game merely paused, the threads of fate still tangled in the darkness. With the orb still pulsing in his fingertips, he prepared for where the shadows would lead him this time. He was not free, and something deep in the recesses of his soul felt the truth. A new choice awaited him. But would it be the one that leads to salvation or damnation? Tom's heart raced as the laughter faded, the darkness of the carnival pressing at his back. He had managed to escape the shadows, but they were not done with him yet. The air crackled, each twist of the dark tendrils around him, promising that lurking horrors awaited. "Lisa!" he cried out, desperately scanning the shifting phantoms that seemed to grow thicker, tighter around him. Silence answered, its weight heavy, smothering. He felt her presence in the air, lingering like a haunting memory. What was she becoming? The orb pulsed in his hand, warm now, radiating light that provided a stark contrast against the relentless gloom. With determination rekindled, he moved forward, knowing he had to find her, no matter the cost. The shadows still writhed, a sinister ballet, but he squeezed the orb tightly, focusing on the glow, channeling every ounce of fear into purpose. Suddenly a flicker of movement caught his eye. From behind a broken ride, a figure emerged, cloaked in darkness, but this time it came with a familiar voice. "Tom!" His heart soared as he recognized her. "Lisa!" he shouted, rushing toward her. Tears streamed down her eyes, but they sparkled with a light he hadn't seen in the shadowy realm. "Help me!" she cried, reaching out. But as he closed the distance, he noticed something wrong. Her expression was strained, her smile twisted, simply stretched too far. "No," he whispered, fear gripping him. It wasn't the Lisa he remembered. "Stay back! Don't let it get you!" But she floated nearer, the shadows swirling around her like a tempest. "Tom, it's okay. It's safe here," she cooed, her voice layered with darkness, enticing and inviting. "No!" he yelled, stepping back. Shadows leapt toward her, excited by his refusal, curling around her legs, anchoring her in place. "Fight it, Lisa! You have to fight!" But the darkness shone in her eyes, feeding off Tom's fear, twisting her into something unrecognizable. The carnival laughed like a fiend, mocking his desperation. Then, in a moment of clarity, an idea struck him. Understanding flooded in, raw and real. He needed to remember. "Emma!" he shouted. "We're coming for you!" In that instant, Lisa's form flickered. "Emma!" She hesitated, her brow furrowing. The shadows hesitated too, as if they felt the connection binding them to both daughters. They needed Emma to thrive. "Focus on our love," Tom continued, striding forward, fueled by the orb's light. "Emma needs us." "Tom," Lisa whispered, her voice wavering. "Help!" With that plea, the flickering shadows took a step back, grappling with the light. "You're losing her," they hissed, filling the air with shouts echoing through the space, growing louder, more chaotic. "Fight it, Lisa!" Tom begged again, extending the orb toward her desperately. He felt the warmth radiate between them, pulling them closer, bridging the gap. He wasn't losing her. Not now. "Together!" he called, mustering all the strength he had left. "We've been together all this time. We can bring Emma back. We will." The orb pulsed and flared, bathing them in golden light. The shadows screeched, light driving through their malevolent grasp, obliterating their hold. "Emma, come back to us," Tom pleaded, holding tightly to the orb, redirecting its energy with fierce desperation. For a moment, silence swallowed the laughter. The shadows shuddered before breaking apart like mist, swirling away in bright flashes as if cast from a spell. And then, from the depths of that retreating darkness, a soft giggle floated back to him. "Daddy!" Before Tom could fully comprehend, a shining figure emerged from the ether. It was Emma, her innocent laughter breaking through the veil like light through a storm. "Emma!" Lisa shrieked with joy, and as she reached out, something shifted in the air, filling it with warmth and hope. The shadows trembled, their forms dissipating around them. Reality shifted back, the carnival vanishing piece by piece in a whirl of color, leaving only Tom, Lisa, and Emma in a bright space once owned by fear. As they enfolded themselves around their daughters, the warmth of their embrace felt solid, healing, a defiance against darkness. "I missed you," Emma cried, and amidst their joy there was still fear. They would not forget what had happened, what they had fought against, but perhaps this battle was not their last. As night began to lift, the weight of the sinister realm receded, but Tom could see shadows lurking at the edges, a reminder of the battles they had fought and those yet to come. "Together," Lisa murmured, holding them close, though both fear and relief rushed through her. Always together. The twinkling stars re-emerged, and in that moment Tom felt a surge of possibilities. Maybe this darkness would always loom, but they were ready to fight. They were stronger together, a family bound by light, love, and the promise of a new dawn. And the laughter that remained was theirs, joyful, victorious, and resilient. Now it was time for the world to know the truth and to stand firm against the Midnight Witch. So are you ready for the next story? Don't miss out. Subscribe immediately to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive tales. You need to subscribe now and smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. It matters more than you think. Be sure to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. We want to hear what you felt while you read. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans know how important your support is to keeping the stories alive. Act now.